Good afternoon. We are doing a recap of the Sabres draft, a quick overview of that, as well as early free agency additions by the Sabres today. Welcome to Touchdown Buffalo. My name is Fred. Um, if you're new here, give us a like and follow us on YouTube, as well as our Facebook page at Touchdown Buffalo Western New York Sports Podcast. On today's episode, we are going to we're going to discuss all the Sabres free agency news. Give my take on the entry draft. Quick overview of a recap of what I thought key takeaways were from this year's draft class, as well as give my take on where the Sabres may head as we move in the next few days of free agency, as well as the off season. Honestly, I have no sponsorship for timeout like most our podcasts do, but drinking some nice some kumbaga right now, and just enjoying the lovely cold weather. Well, not so cold, but at least it's not as hot as it was a couple weeks ago. So right now I'm gonna scroll the free agent signings here on the bottom as reported by the Sabres, as well as like TSN and Elliot Friedman of Hockey Night in Canada. Uh, Jason Zucker, good, flexible winger that can play up and down your lineup. I know, played for teams like Pittsburgh and Minnesota in the past, um, as well as earlier a couple days ago they announced the re-sign of Cale Clegg on a 1-year deal. Sam Lafferty joins the Sabres on a 2-year, $4 million contract with, as noted, $2 million per year AAV. Former Washington forward Nicholas Aube-Kubel, um, 1 year, $1.5 million. Jacob Bryson, his RFA was not qualified, but he's re-signed on a 1-year deal worth $900,000. So those are basically the free agent signings. Uh, Basically a lot of depth bottom six forward signings as of this point with the Sabres. Most likely not bringing back Zemgus Gernsons. I believe Eric Robinson they trade for from Columbus is signing with Carolina. Uh, Jeff Skinner they bought out earlier uh, Saturday. Um, it was rumored that he was being bought out. Um, they had till July 30th, which as of yesterday, to buy him out once the Stanley Cup ended. And got I wish him nothing but the best. You figured with the emergence of JJ Peterka being on the top line and Skinner struggling to score, he had like a 20-goal season, but he wasn't where he was like 2 years ago, having a 4-goal season. And Skinner being Skinner at times being, streaky score. Um, and when he's down on the bottom line, he doesn't produce as well. Um, and you got to look at declining potential decline of his skill set over time since he's in his early 30s, going to be with that 3 years left on his contract. You wonder the production decline will continue with Jeff Skinner. Uh, and it was palatable to do it now versus a year from now because you're getting all your cap savings in years four through six, with taking most of the brunt of it in years 2 and 3 with the a little over 4 million in the second year of the buyout, and the third year goes up to 6.4 million. Um, so on So on that front, I mean, yes, it's most of your cap savings is going to come now to make all of these other additions uh, to build out your roster a little bit, give us more depth, a little bit more physical, fast, checking, which is probably hopefully more front of the net presence that the Sabres sorely have been lacking for multiple seasons on this team. Depth, scoring, depth, physical, penalty kill, just not a well-rounded team at best. Uh, Also during the draft, uh, Hershey Bears player and Washington Capitals forward that played 82 games last season, Beck Malmstein got traded to Buffalo for, I believe, the 43rd overall pick that I believe Buffalo acquired from San Jose, if I'm not mistaken. There's a few other um, pick swaps during the draft, but that was one of the notable things. The only move that came out of the draft that, as well as I do during this time of year, all the rumors flow around that there's always going to be big deals, and turns out usually it never happen. Usually never occurs in most cases. Um, so if you're looking, yeah, I think as much as we're fans are criticizing Kevin Adams right now for not doing something big and impactful to address the Skinner departure, buyout, uh, you're looking at some turnover and some different faces and different players to give you something different. Uh, I'd be middle six, bottom six, a little bit on the bottom end defensively, um, and everything that comes along with it. So the next thing I'm gonna get in main beef here is the first part of draft recap. What stood out to me? Um, Multiple defensive prospects taken by the Sabres this year. Uh, I'm not talking about the first round pick, but we got a lot of Sabres addressing a lot of defensive depth quality in their pipeline this year, which have been lacking. Not saying they haven't drafted defensive players, but you continue to build that defensive pipeline up um, in your organization. Um, Constance Helenas was the first selection. Uh, he was projected to be a top 10 pick, but I believe he fell to 13th or no 14th where we picked him. Um, just gonna look up the rest of the Sabres draft class right here while I'm looking this up live. Uh, and I'm not gonna get all the picks as far as like their projections, their stats, their everything. That that I'm not gonna I'm not gonna do that. I'm not an expert on that. I'm just gonna give you a general synopsis. Uh, they selected Adam Kiefler, a defenseman that's a 6 foot six, 250 pound right shot defenseman. There's your right shot defenseman depth prospect that we've been talking about, or me and Jimmy and have said that they need in their organization. Now, you can make an argument that the top D prospects there was a lot of depth in the first round of that. However, I maybe the value wise it wasn't there for the Sabres at pick 14. When you look at it, um, I mean, I'm not familiar with like some of the other. I know I saw they drafted Luke Osborne, um, uh, Cyan Pierre Brunette. Might have to go and like video footage and talk about the rest of the product prospects in our time. But interesting story too. There's a selected local kid, Patrick Geary. I'm guessing he's Nick Geary's younger brother from WGR Sports Radio 550. I could be wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised um, if that weren't the case. Um, they selected two winners, you know, in this year's draft, and one goaltender uh, to complete out their draft class. Uh, s- so I would say at least a third to half of their draft was defensemen this year. To sum it all up, uh, the second point I'm going to get into quickly is that I mentioned earlier about the 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 trades were mostly pick swaps than actual NHL proven players. I think a lot of fans were expecting the Sabres to do a lot with the picks they had to acquire NHL assets. Uh, potentially Martin Necas of the Carolina Hurricanes as one of them. You could think of Philadelphia, Scott Lawton, or some like those type of names. I think fans were definitely expecting that, and I think fans were disappointed that that didn't go down. Um, and I, so I mean, going back to the free agency part of it, I mean, you did address what you couldn't do with those picks and plays to a certain extent. There's still rumors about Capital and the Sabres being linked. That's certain, from the New York Rangers, um, as well as a few others. Only time will tell to see before the start of the season whether any trades materialize. Uh, I also forgot if I didn't forget to mention Dennis Gilbert, signed here too. Uh, you know, great for the local kid um, to sign with his hometown team. Whether he's a factor or he goes down to the AHL, I don't know. Uh, we'll see. Probably, you know, deft decisions for trading camp, and who knows. Uh, begs the question though, when you going back to the first round pick of trades, and I'm when I talked about being disappointed in everything, um, I think there's still moves that the Sabres could make to bolster their top six with Jeff Skinner, being bought out, that you can use your um, prospect pool to fortify everything, where it be uh, middle pair defenseman to pair with Owen Power, as well as to try to find a potential second line right or left winger to replace that scoring void. Uh, and factoring in Jack Quinn was injured last year, I mean, you would hope to see him bounce back and at least get to a 25-30 goal season potentially. If you're banking on that, uh, hopefully JJ Turka can fill that void. They seemed to do that towards the end of last year with Thompson and Tuck. Uh, and you may still have Um, Krebs is your third line center. Uh, we shall see. So, again, it's early in free agency. It's early in the off season to speculate and talk about this. I'm sure a lot of uh, Sabres beat writers and podcasters will be talking about it. Uh, it, it's going to be interesting. Uh, and as far as anything else goes, there's nothing new to report on right now as far as Sabres free agent signings. as of this point. We are still in the early hours of it. Uh, nothing, yeah, nothing crazy um, right now as far as that's concerned. Again, I'm just quickly looking up anything else reported right now, and I don't think anything's been reported at this point that uh, you know, at this point. If there's any updates, I will pop in later, release the rest of the week to give you an update on all the Saber signings and get a better reaction with Jimmy and potentially Mike to give his thoughts, Jimmy's thoughts on what this means, how this will affect the team, and how are we going to go into the rest of the offseason and into the preseason, as well as the 24-25 season for the Buffalo Sabres. Uh, if you haven't so like, comment, and subscribe. Hope to see you down the road and talk to you guys soon. This has been the Touchdown Buffalo uh, recap of the Sabres draft and the early free agents additions.